can have your attention. Make your way back to your seats. See lots of people taking interest in silent auction. There's lots of items to take interest in. There's bids on the evening with Butch and the wine tasting. Coins still have opportunity to have some bidding on them. Please, as the evening goes forward, consider those items. They've been donated by people lovingly and for benefit of the club and benefit of the foundation. Thank you all, and we'll enter the recognition and awards section of the evening. I'd like to call up Colin Thule to talk about the Volunteer Rugby Foundation.
All right. Thank you, John. Just going to take a second to talk about the Volunteer Rugby Foundation, what it is, why it exists. I know I had no idea what it was when I was a player. The VRF is only in existence to support rugby at the University of Tennessee. We're a nonprofit, and that's our entire mission. We put this event on. We support the venues, i.e. the park, games, streaming matches, scholarships, recruiting, some of the head coach and manager expenses, things like that, the volunteer scholarships. So it's an important part of what goes on in the background that we don't always talk about. That's we just want to take a second and recognize that that's part of why this happens and a lot of the other things that when you're a player and you just show up and the field's lined and the grass is cut and all that kind of stuff, VRF has a lot of arm behind making that happen. We also call every year and ask for money. Players, you'll start getting that call. Seniors next year. It's important to continue to support the club, make sure we're continuing the tradition that's gone on for so long. And I'll just take a quick second and recognize the current VRF board members, Brett Jones, Chris Finch, Chris Mott, Greg Broyles, John Shaw, who's our MC, Logan McNeil, Marty Bradley, Michael Weldon, Zach McAfee, and Scott Sandman, who couldn't be here tonight but is the board chair. Thanks. So if you ever have any questions about what the VRF is, why we exist, where the money's being spent, grab any of those people and grab them, ask, see how you can contribute, how you can help out with the club and with the foundation. And then I'll introduce someone I think we all know, Butch Robertson, the head coach of the program from 1977 to 2011. And I think his title after that to now is pain in the ass. Running coach, chairman emeritus, something along those lines. He's going to talk about the 2003-2014, which is one of the first teams we had to make it to the Sweet 16. I think a lot of those players are here, and this weekend's, recognizing the jump that team made from kind of fun club to a serious rugby team. And I'll give it away to Butch. Thanks, Butch.
Butch, don't make me run the hill, please.
You'll be back next year, right? Pick 5 of your friends. Well, the guys decided that this would be a unique year, 20 years, to honor the team from 2002 and 2003, which was the first team to go to national championship playoffs. To say the least, that 2003, 2004 was a memorable year is really an understatement. Some years as coaches, you look around and you realize we're going to have to work very hard to have success. And then some years you look around and you realize, hey, we're going to have a lot of fun. We thought we'd be good in 2003, 2004, but we just didn't realize what goals we were going to be able to achieve that year. We started off pretty well, winning 9 out of our first 10 matches. It took a fall break tour to New Orleans, which, by the way, I learned was the home of the drive-through daiquiri bar, to realize that 6 matches on the road in 3 days with traveling in between is pretty tough. The fall ended a little bit on a downer. We traveled to Clemson, who would be one of our opponents for the league conference championships in the spring, and we lost 2. Then came the spring. Oh my goodness. After a warm-up win at Virginia Tech, we went to Clemson again, and this time we walked away with 2 wins. Traveled to Florida, beat them pretty soundly, and what that did was set up a showdown with MTSU. And now you have to understand that MTSU then is not the MTSU today. These guys were tough. They were great athletes. Their coaches, while sometimes playing fast and loose with the eligibility rules, were good. It had been several years since we had beaten them, and once more we were on the road. Well, it was an exciting match, to say the least, both on and off the field, with some MTSU fans being hauled away in handcuffs by the local sheriff because of an altercation in the stands. But Brett Jones summed it up very eloquently after we won when he said, "Well, we finally got that monkey off our back." Now, what that meant was not only were we going to play UNC for the conference title, but we had qualified for a bid to the national championship tournament. Only 16 teams were invited those times, and that was our first ever. Now, this is the point where the difference between coaching and administration and playing is really profound. We were going to either Berkeley or Colorado Springs, Colorado, and we didn't know which one until we played UNC. What it did mean was we needed plane tickets, ground transportation, hotels, and a bunch of other stuff that was going to cost a whole lot of money, which at that point we didn't have. Now, this was before the VRF, and we really didn't have a whole lot of experience raising those kinds of funds. At this point, I'm going to give a huge tip of the hat to Marty Bradley. This is just one of the many things that he has done and continues to do behind the scenes that so many people are unaware of. He put this club on his back, and he got us to our destination. Boom. Fundraising, old boys, alumni donations, sponsorships, player dues accounts, player travel fees, sports clubs contributions, sports clubs executive council contributions. I think at some point we were rummaging around in couches looking for spare change. But we raised $20,000 in 3 weeks. We lost to UNC in a hard-fought match, but we really didn't have much time to brood about it because we knew we were headed to Colorado Springs to play the #1 seed, defending national championship, United States Air Force Academy. Now, we traveled by car to Atlanta Airport, which was our best flight option. Thank you, Marty. I need to digress for a moment because this is one of my own personal memories. One of our teammates, a guy named Reggie Mullins. Reggie is what I would call, and still call today, a joyous personality. He always had a smile and a happy face and was always excited about what was going on around him. He was a great guy, still is. I found that Reggie was going to be one of my seatmates. I also noticed that this normally outgoing, charming personality was somewhat subdued. I found out it was to be his first trip on an airplane. And he was a bit anxious. So I told him, hey, we got nothing to worry about. Airline travel is safer than being in a car on the interstate. So we get on the airplane. Reggie gets a window seat. Then the flight attendant comes up to greet us. Gentlemen, you will notice that you are seated in an emergency escape row. Do you think in the unlikely situation that we have to leave the plane that you will be able to remove the escape hatch and assist in evacuating the aircraft? Remember, first time on an airplane, Reggie's eyes were about as big as saucers. There was a lot of yes ma'ams and so forth. It really was funny at the time. Well, we arrived at Colorado Springs, Reggie's misgivings notwithstanding, and it was absolutely beautiful. We had a quick day of training and some sightseeing. The next day, our match against Air Force. There was a reason why they were the defending national champions. Bigger, stronger, faster, wonderful execution, particularly on restarts. And there were a lot of restarts. We learned a lot the hard way, and yeah, they won big time. But again, we couldn't brood about it much because we had to get up the next day and take on Penn State, the number 8 seed who'd lost to Ohio State the previous day, the same day we played Air Force. Again, mismatch on paper. Penn State, well-funded coaches and administrator support completed on a regular basis against the big boys. Number 8 against number 16. Another defeat for the boys from the minor leagues. We came out fast and didn't stop. Penn State may have been reading their own press releases and didn't wake up to the fact that they were in a real match until we were already on board with 2 tries. We were punching way above our weight class. Again, I need to digress for a moment. You know sometimes how a team plays better with certain people off the field than on? Well, one of our regulars got a yellow card. It could have been a turning point in the match. And we proceeded to score not 1, but 2 short-handed tries while this guy was in the bin. Vinny Nidapi, thank you for your off-the-field contributions. While the final score was 43-20 UT, it was not as close as it sounds. We let in a couple of tries late in the end, but long after the issue had been decided, and we definitely left our mark, and we had a lot to come home to be proud about. We stayed long enough to watch the Air Force come out on top over Ohio State. The only reason I mention this is because Ohio State had a ceramic garden gnome in Ohio State colors, about 18 inches high, and they placed it on their sidelines during a match. Somehow, I know nothing, that mascot made its way from their sidelines to our seats in the stand. I am thoroughly convinced that if we had been traveling in a bus, it would have made its way back to Knoxville as well. I'm sure each member of that team has a special memory moment. And if I can get my act together, I'd like to share mine. At that point, I'd been on the sidelines for 27 years. Marty had been there for at least 9. Tuesdays, Thursdays, somewhere around 30-plus weekends a year. Rain, shine, hot, cold, and sometimes even snow. Throughout that time, our goal had been get to the big show. And as we were standing there about to go down on this immaculately groomed pitch, on a bright sunny day with the Rocky Mountains in the background, I paused. I reached over to Bill Peterson, who had been helping us with that year, and I shook his hand. Then I shook Marty's hand, and I thanked them both. I damn near cried. I'd like the members of that team who are here tonight to please stand so that we can thank them for bringing us to the big time. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce Stat Tungay, our current head coach, who's going to present some awards.
Well, good evening. Thank you all for being here. Firstly, thanks be to God for creating this beautiful game. And to my beautiful wife for cheerfully coming along with me on my mission. Thank you. And then Marty, Butch, John, the VRF board, thank you for your trust in me with the keys to the UT rugby machine. These gentlemen have continually gone out of their way to set me up for success on and off the field. And having been on the outside of this club, I have a unique perspective of just how respected this program is, and I take seriously my role of sustaining that culture of success and respect into the future. To the leadership group, I've leaned heavily on Luke, Beacom, Bib, and Mike. You guys pulled a lot of weight for me this year. Thank you, gentlemen. To the players, you actually had to go out on the field and do the things. Our motto before every game has been work rate and bravery. And you showed that game after game. Well done, gentlemen. Running an elite program of 60-plus players is a busy operation, and here are the men behind the scenes who make it work. The trainers and medical staff who keep us running, Matt Schaller, Ryan Greer, and Dr. McLarrabee, thank you for the time and skill you put into our lads. Hank Marshman and Father Bob O'Donnell, thank you for taking an interest in our players' lives and being at our practices and traveling with us. You are a big reason why UT's culture is different to most of the other teams I've been on. Mark Donaldson, thank you for diligently keeping our stats on game day. Mikey Weldon, thank you for bringing high energy, lifting the intensity of the lads. Matt Noss, thank you for bringing a calm, no nonsense, or get on with it. Sammy Anderson, thank you for handling the 7th season. We had a great CRC showing thanks to your hard work and energy in a short time frame. I appreciate the confidence you bring to our lads. Dave Codevilla, grit. Once again, I thank God that I was not born a forward and that Dave was not my coach. The Tennessee forward pack is brutal and effective because of Dave's exacting love for this part of the game. Thank you, Dave. Butch Robertson, why are you walking? I've told Butch that he is like my Yoda. He offers sage advice and time-tested case studies that apply to many of the challenges that are at hand. I appreciate his eye for detail, and he has I would say, a very effective way of teaching the young gentlemen about etiquette. And so I was shocked on Thursday. I think being a grandfather is softening, Butch. He was giving a player a compliment, and I overheard it. And I thought, what is happening in the world? Thank you, Butch. Steve Harris. Thank you, Steve. Your logistical skill has allowed me to focus on coaching and recruiting while you make sure that all our trains are running on time. I've leaned heavily on Steve as a sounding board and have come to rely on his pragmatic advice. Steve, thank you for your hard work and for your love for this club, organizing and maintaining the high standards of this program. The 15th season in the fall, we started the season off well, beating Rio Grande of Ohio and South Carolina, Steve's favorite opponent. Then a final minute loss to Clemson put a real urgency into our season, and we went 6-1 in regular play. Our come-from-behind win over Bama at a packed Bama field the night before the football game. We were down 24-0 at halftime. The frat boys were heckling at level 10. The huddle at halftime was simple. Go out there and smash these kids. And they did. We pulled back to within 1 point, 29-28, with a couple minutes left on the clock. The lads kept the phases going, and we won a penalty 30 meters out. Brendan O'Neill, who had kicked perfectly that evening, slotted the final penalty to silence the Bama crowds and give us the win in Tuscaloosa. That was a great game. One of my favorite memories from watching the film back is Mrs. Beacom shouting very loudly for us, and then Grayson Wallace giving a final kiss to the crowd on the final whistle. 18 injuries heading into the playoffs made beating South Carolina for the second time really satisfying. And then a heartbreaking loss to national champions Kentucky in the final. That next week is where we majored on resilience through hardship and disappointment. It was really hard for the boys to pick themselves back up after that and get back on the horse again after such a tough loss. Why do we continue to play and coach at all? That was the chat that we had on that Tuesday after the Kentucky game. Why do we continue to play and coach at all? And the answers we got from the guys: love of the game, love of our teammates, making ourselves and our program better, and the honor of pulling on a Tennessee jersey. Remembering why we are here is very important. These were painful lessons in leadership for these boys, and we don't let disappointment stop us from getting back on our horse. And so we went into a real knockout fight with eventual national finalist Louisville, a tough loss in a match that we came painfully close to winning. With that said, there's definitely a lot to be proud of, ending our fall season with a 7-3 record. 36% of our first team minutes were played by sophomores. 10% of our first team minutes were played by freshmen. With so many committed young players, we decided to fetch additional 15s matches in the spring to speed up our player development for the fall championship. This included squaring off with varsity programs. We hosted D1 teams Lindenwood and Mary Washington on a rain-soaked pitch, getting to play against their B-sides in what was a fatal mistake of allowing the boys to wear white jerseys. We ended up getting revenge on Virginia Tech. We held D1 program Queens to a draw in Charlotte, and we won the Savannah and Nash Bash tournaments, beating D1 programs Wisconsin and Illinois. We played an abbreviated 7 schedule due to our new emphasis on 15s development, and we struggled to get much cohesion going into the SEC tournament, and we failed to challenge for that trophy. Despite the disappointing 7s results, we were confident of being able to turn it on at the CRCs. We returned to the club division of the CRCs in Washington, D.C., and we beat Southern California and North Carolina before falling to eventual champions Louisville. We then beat Florida for the 3rd place. As we continue to pursue more Spring 15s matches, we will split the 7 squad earlier to get them more tournaments in preparation for the ACC and CRC trophies. The spring was a huge success in our goal of developing our squad to be able to compete at the D1 level in preparation for the coming fall championship. Regularly, there's about 65 guys in the fall, and in the spring, about 30 of them disappear to eat Cheetos for the whole spring. Whereas this spring, we had 45 to 50 guys out there the whole spring, and it was a huge success in keeping the team together and developing them. The generous support of the VRF has made UT Rugby an attractive destination for young men who are serious about both school and rugby. We had over 100 high school seniors reach out to us about coming to play rugby for the University of Tennessee, and about 30 of them were able to visit Knoxville for a campus tour. As of today, we have 6 committed freshmen and 6 committed transfers coming in with years of high school rugby experience. They're coming to this program expecting to win championships as part of a program that takes its motto seriously: family, school, rugby. Now about the school part. Overall team GPA is very good. Maybe one of the best at 3.14. So the overall team GPA, 3.14. The freshmen were impressive with an average GPA of 3.25. And the 5 seniors have an average GPA of 3.38, which is outstanding. Well done, student athletes. Our mission is to be the best collegiate rugby club in America. And the 2024 class made a determined step in that direction. Well done, boys. Steve, would you like to come up and help me with awards?
Before we get started, I believe the players have a gift they'd like to give out as well. Mom, babe.
My name is Luke Mathis. I'm the current president of the program, and before we kind of get into the awards for the players, we'd like to extend a big thank you to the women of this program who make it possible for us. Start out with Kelly. Thank you so much for helping this man live his dream and making it possible to travel every weekend. I know it's hard, kind of sending him off a couple days out of the month, and it really means the world to us. And we also like to extend a thank you to, especially in the spring, Sammy's wife, Morgan. This is a birthday weekend. I know it's tough, but really big thank you. Really means a lot to the entire program. Really makes it possible for us to do it. But thank you very much.
Thanks, boys.
So the first award tonight that we'll give is the Kevin Hartley Award for Inspirational Leadership. I know a lot of guys, particularly those 04 guys, know Kevin Hartley pretty well. I just know him as the teammate of Josh P., one of the 04 guys, my former high school coach. I just know him as one of those guys who would pick up the baton from Butch, yell us a little bit more, and then as a freshman on the team in 2010, he would add an extra conditioning session on top of what Butch did just for us to get ready for Sweet 16 in 2010, blow off all his law students team and take it out on us. And he did. But I will say, this young man that we're about to honor tonight, pretty impressive young man. As only a sophomore, he's already grown into a leadership role in the team. When we talk about getting UT Rugby back to the standard of the 04 team, he's the one who's asking us to fetch big games. Like, we're going to play Texas A&M and Ohio State and some other teams this fall. Go play big teams. Go win big games. I won't talk too much about this guy because we'll talk about him once more, maybe twice tonight. But tonight's recipient of the Kevin Hartley Award for Inspirational Leadership is Michael McGettigan. X is over there.
On the X. Hold on. Got a photo with Steve.
Thank you very much. Very nice. Callie, thank you.
You're good. Hold up. Wait.
The next award, the John, yeah, well done, Mike. The John Shaw Award, you all know who John Shaw is. The award for dedication and service, named after an old boy that perfectly exemplifies what it means to be dedicated to UT Rugby. This award honors the student athlete that has shown a devotion and commitment to the team. This young sophomore, despite spending most of his freshman and sophomore seasons recovering from injuries, he was a positive presence showing up to all practices. Off the field, Toby has taken on responsibility for lining our fields and doing media write-ups after matches, and Toby has exemplified a dedicated attitude in service to UT Rugby. Coming up, Toby Fagan.
Good job, guys. Well done. Appreciate it.
Going to pull up the captains.
Yeah, they're ready. There you go. Next, we'll recognize the team captains for the sake of brevity, because we'll talk about a couple of these guys a couple different times. We'll just call them up all at once. One guy we'll highlight really quickly just because he's been a big part of the program and very impressively came back from injury last year to make not just the All-Star tournament, but the all-team, or an all-tournament player at the All-Star tournament last year, coming back from a ruptured kidney. Matthew Beacom, who is now a two-time All-American as well.
Yeah.
You want to stand with him, Steve?
Here's this All-American plaque.
Good boy.
Next captain is Michael McGettigan.
Yeah.
Coming up, Mike.
Here we go. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Let's get a photo.
Good job. Thank you.
Next, and this is another gentleman we'll talk about a little bit later tonight as well, Brendan Bibb. He could have called out of work, whatever. And without further ado, our other All-American and team captain, Luke Mathis.
Good job, guys.
Luke, don't go anywhere.
Luke can just stay up here. We have a few things to say about him. SEC leading try scorer in the fall with 13 tries. SEC All-Conference Team, Collegiate All-American, CRC Sevens All-Tournament Team, and he's graduating with a 3.8 in finance and is going into the Fellows Program. Player of the Year, Luke Mathis.
All right.
Good job, you guys.
Thank you.
Well done.
Next is a pretty prestigious award in the history of the program. For those of you who don't know the original Ironman, I believe he's here tonight, Bobby Hampstead. The original award was granted to the player who played every minute of every game, A side and B side. Bobby Hampstead did that as a prop. Every minute of every game, A side, B side as a prop. So that's the original standard. As the game has evolved over time, substitutions have become a thing. So the nature of the awards changed some over time because we've come to learn that moving props around so they can go all out for 15 minutes and bring another prop on helps you win a little more scrums. But the big thing is in 2012, the award shifted from being playing every minute of every game A side and B side to a career achievement award. This award now recognizes guys who played every single year they were eligible in college, held a leadership role in the team, and played at the varsity level. So we'll recognize 3 Ironmen tonight. We'll save Luke for last. First one we'll recognize is Jarrett Self. We can do all 3 at once.
Good job, big guy.
This next gentleman would casually stroll through the tunnel at Fulton Bottoms, 15 minutes late with Jarrett, Dane Whitney.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you. All right, let's get a photo there. Good job. Well done.
And last, we'll make it quick because we talked about it enough, Luke Mathis.
Well done, my friend.
This is getting old.
I know. Thanks.
Yeah, so next one now. All right, I think we called John Shaw back up here. That's right. Perfect.
Remember, keep visiting that back table for the silent auctions. Number of nice items back there. I'd like to call Logan McNeil now to the stage to present the Resiliency Scholarship.
Hey everybody, so I'm getting up here representing the Resiliency Award, one of my former college roommates. As you guys know, you're gonna get close during college with your roommates. So Duncan Bintram was a teammate of mine back in, we graduated in 2015 together. Duncan actually was a transfer from Kutztown, played his freshman year there, and so as the UT team, we got pretty excited when a player from Kutztown's coming. And very first year he was here, tore his ankle, like first game, right? Worked a whole year, came all the way back. The very next game that he played, broke his other ankle, right? So it was a little disappointing, but he stuck around, joined the house, became one of our roommates, became one of our best friends, and that's why we present this Resiliency Award. Him and his dad actually donate the money, and they think so much of the program that they give a scholarship every year for these players. So unfortunately, it sounds like the person is not here that I'm supposed to be awarding the award to, but Brendan Bibb. Those of you who don't know, Brendan had a battle. He didn't even know he was diabetic, right? Lost over 60 pounds in playing prop, and then actually worked his way all the way back up to 60 more pounds back to this fall, and was a team captain and led third in the team in tries, I think Steve told me. So just the resiliency that shows of being able to come back and fight from that, I think is well deserved. So give it a round of applause for Brendan.
like to bring Bill Peterson to the podium to the Richard Sexton Memorial Scholarship. This scholarship has been given for over 40 years, and I know Bill will talk about Richard and what he meant to Tennessee rugby. But it is one of the many things that makes Tennessee rugby unique and special, and it was a scholarship established by friends and classmates shortly after his passing. That is a way that Richard continues to live on. Bill?
Thank you very much. Before I go and start talking about the scholarship, I hope you will indulge me in two little areas before we go. First of all, Butch got his chance to talk about the 2003-2004 group, and I just wanted to embellish a little bit about the time before we played Penn State. We went down there probably 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half before the kickoff of the game. And we ran a practice, and we must have hoisted 100 balls into the air. You cannot imagine what Colorado Springs was like. I mean, it just blew the whole time. It was like Wyoming. And we put that ball up there so the deep three would have an idea of what it was like. And when we got into the game, well, let me say this. Before, probably half an hour before the game started, in came Penn State. They strutted in like they were the dog, you know, and they came in there like, you know, yeah, we'll blow these guys away. And as the game went along and we took control of the game, they ran out of ideas. And as you've probably seen from most rugby clubs, when they run out of ideas, they hoist the ball in the air. And man, we were waiting for them. We took them and we ran it right down their throat. And it was a wonderful, wonderful win against the Nittany Lions. So let me talk about the scholarship. First of all, let me recognize two of the people from the scholarship committee, and that would be John Shaw and our newest member, Brett Jones. There are 4 other permanent people that have been on there. That would be Susan Sexton Stapleton Campbell. There's obviously me. There's Chris Finch, and there's Bob Miller. Miller couldn't be here tonight. He's had knee surgery. Finch had an obligation, and Susan comes probably about once a decade. So she's not here. But anyway, we have some really good choices tonight. Talk a little bit about Richard. Richard was my friend. He was sort of the Marty of our period of time. He did just about everything you can imagine. He was the president of the club. He was the captain. He would organize the people that lined the fields. He sometimes washed the jerseys, repaired the jerseys. You can't imagine what this guy did. I mean, it was incredible. And after he graduated, his future wife and my future wife used to live together in an apartment. So we would come in on Fridays and we would, you know, all get together and drink beer and have maybe some pizza or something like that. And Richard, at that time, we would talk about this scholarship, the possibility of creating a scholarship like this, never, ever imagining that it would be his death that created the catalyst for this scholarship. He had a industrial accident in Douglasville, Georgia, and his wife forwarded $5,000 and challenged the rest of us to put up the money so that we could create a scholarship. And back in 1981, we issued our first scholarship, which I believe was $300, and the recipient was Mike Webby. We have gone on for 43 years now. Obviously, the pool has grown tremendously, and we can offer a whole lot more than $300 to the scholarship winners. So it's been really nice, and it continues to go on. So there's the history. I actually had some pictures of Richard, but since the cost of audio-visual here is so great, well, we had to. So the first recipient is a wonderful young man, Michael McGettigan.
All right, Mike.
We have a photograph? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I had to look up where Ladera Ranch is. It was pretty cool. I didn't know where it was.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, let's go one over. One over.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. So I was told this young man is going to be very surprised when I call his name up here. He's from my old hometown in Wilson County, Tennessee, and that would be Corbin Alexander. There you go, Golden Bear.
Thank you.
We got a picture. John Shaw.
Thank you, Yamaha. Now Scott Tungay to recognize the seniors.
All right, would all the assistant coaches please come up and help me out here? We can probably maybe do a line at the bottom here, maybe. What do you think? Call them all up at once. So I'll call you seniors all up. Make sure you shake each hand because spend a lot of time on you. All right, so here's our seniors from this year. Eli Christoph. Brighton McCann. Dane Whitney. Jarrett Self. And Luke Mathis. Dr. John, would you like to come back up? You guys want to get a photo with them?
We'll take a 10-minute recess, refill your glasses if you need to. Please visit the silent auction and think about those items you'd like to take home with you. When we come back, we'll have the Captain Circle induction.